Good morning. Today on Coffee Time Chat, we're going to learn how to save money while feeding your family. Good morning, everybody. My name is Deb from Just Do Something Homestead, and one question I am asked over and over again is, how can I save money on groceries? What can I do to feed my family nutritious meals but still stay on a budget? And today, that's exactly what we're going to talk about. I've come up with 12 things that my family does to help save money on groceries. The last few years have proved to be pretty challenging to stick to a budget. So what we have done is we have first come up with a budget. Know exactly how much money do you have to spend on groceries each week. And what I used to do is I would take that as cash and put it in an envelope. That way, when I was going through my grocery store, I could see how close I was to the end of my budget, and I could adjust what I was putting into my cart. Another thing is I don't necessarily want people to know what I'm buying. So if I am only using cash, there's no trail to come back and say, wow, you buy this much of this. Number 2, buy bulk, but only when it's on sale. I used to shop a lot at Sam's Club. In fact, I love Sam's Club. But what you learn real quick is just because it's bulk doesn't mean it's cheaper. Now on the shelves, it'll tell you price per ounce, price per item. I highly recommend that when you're shopping, you know how much the cost is in other stores. That way you can find out if it's truly a good deal. And bulk doesn't always mean one of those big box stores. You can buy bulk in tiny little stores where you find a good deal. One question that I am asked over and over is, how can I save money? This is an example. This is Jimmy Dean's all natural premium pork sausage, and I found these on sale. It is a 3-pound container, so it's not that little 1-pound one. This is 3 pounds, and I paid $3.99. Now, they had several of them at my store, and so what I did is I bought 3, 4, 5 of them, and I put them in my cart, and I brought them home. But you know what? I didn't have time to deal with 15 pounds of sausage at that point. So I threw all of them in my freezer. Now tonight when I was making dinner, I wanted to use sausage. So I pulled one of these out a couple days ago, put it in the refrigerator, and thawed it out. Now what I am doing at this point is I am slicing it. If you turn it over, you're going to see that there are lines on the back. That is to slice. So I am doing double thickness. So I'm skipping one and cutting on the next one and making patties. At this point, I am going to fry up each one of these and refreeze them in individual Ziplocs. You can refreeze them because now they will be cooked. So I have indeed saved all that money by purchasing more than I was able to use at that time. I cook them on high in my biggest cast iron pan, and that gives me 2, 4, 6, 7 at a time. In just a half hour, I was able to brown and cook 16 sausage patties. So I have 16 servings that I can easily pull out of the freezer as needed. I have saved money. I have prepped for future meals. Or I could grab several of them and chop them up and put them in a breakfast casserole. There are many ways to save money, and this is one of my absolute favorites. Number 3, shop the ads. My free newspaper that comes in the mail includes the circulars for different stores. Every week after that comes, I search through them to find what's on sale. Often their best deals are right on the front page. This one is for Martin's, and it is for next week. And the very first thing that jumped out at me, drumsticks for 99 cents a pound. Not only did you shop the ad, but I would go and buy bulk. Some of them have limits, but many of them do not. So get as many as you can reasonably use in your family. And when you bring them home, make sure you freeze them. Don't leave them in the refrigerator. Number 4, plant a garden. When I started homesteading, I didn't have huge gardens. In fact, all I had was a flower bed. And my husband would look at me and he'd say, "Is that a tomato plant in the flower bed?" It sure was, because tomatoes will grow wherever you take care of them. And so I had free food. Number 5, shop food outlets. When I lived in Maryland, we were so close to the Pennsylvania border, and I would buy from the Amish outlets. A lot of people have a misconception that they are dented and expired food, but what I found is most of them were not. One way that I save a tremendous amount of money on my grocery bill is to shop at outlets. A huge misconception is that all of the food you purchase in an outlet is expired, and that simply is not true. Most of the items that I do buy are not expired. I have to look hard at every single product that I buy to find the expiration date, which, as we know, is simply a best by date. When I find items like this at the outlet that are extremely inexpensive and are not expired, I buy as many as I reasonably can use. Now, I look at the expiration date and I know that I can extend that by preserving my foods. And the one way that I love more than anything is by vacuum sealing. Before Valentine's Day, I found these on the shelves everywhere. They were limited edition, they were specialty ones, but they were $3.50 to $4 a box, and I did not purchase any of those. By the end of February, I found them on my favorite little shelf in the grocery store where they sell items dirt cheap. And they simply did it because the holiday was over. So again, the first thing I do is I look for the best by date, which is November 2023. Now, these were 99 cents. My only regret, and I knew it when I did it, is I bought one box because I honestly tried to buy all organic food. But this is an excellent product to use when you're hungry. And for 99 cents, I can stir this into my organic cereal. Here's another example. After Christmas, I was able to get these specialty chocolate chips in Christmas trees and stockings for 50 cents a bag. That is when I stock up. It doesn't matter to me that the white chips are green or red. And as well as purchasing lots of food inexpensively, learn how to vacuum seal. That is how I store all of my dried goods. That way I know they're going to last longer, they're going to be pest-free, and they are not going to expire on the expiration date. So if it says expires 2024, I can push it a little bit longer and at least get it to 2025. Let's talk expiration dates. Expiration dates are not dates that you have to consume that food by. It is actually a best by date. And those dates are added so that a producer of that food can guarantee that the food is 100% perfect up until that date. Can you go past that date? Absolutely. One item I do not go past the date, though, is meat. I am very careful about meat because meat will spoil. In the past, you used to be able to find it on sale, but I've been finding if it's marked down, it's kind of gray at this point, so don't risk it with meat. Number 7, pack your lunch. Over the last 30 years, I have held many jobs, whether it was working in a floral shop or retail, grocery stores, teacher, librarian. But I've always been amazed at the number of people who would go out for lunch every day. Sometimes the entire group of employees would go out every day for lunch, and I'd be sitting there all by myself with my bagged lunch. A lot of those places, the prices have gone up a lot, and what might have been a $5 lunch is now a $10 lunch. If you and your spouse are both eating out, that's $20 a day. And $20 a day times 5 days is going to be a huge chunk of your grocery budget. I was fortunate in that a lot of the jobs that I held had a microwave, so I could just heat up some leftovers. Whatever you enjoy eating for lunch, it's going to be far cheaper to pack every day than it is to buy every day. And that leads into a discussion of eat your leftovers. I've actually met people that they would cook a meal and then throw away what was left. Oh my goodness. Your family struggles to eat the same thing every day because it's leftovers, then mix it up. One thing I like to make is meatloaf. I love meatloaf, but not everybody in my family loved it as much as I did. When my children were young, I learned a little trick. I would have my meatloaf one day. I would take the meatloaf out of the pan the second day and cut it into cubes that were about 1.5 inches. And then I would place them in a frying pan. I would heat it up, put spaghetti sauce on top, cook my spaghetti, and we had spaghetti and meatballs. Nobody asked me why my meatballs were square, but you know what? They didn't know it was leftover meatloaf. So even if you have to disguise your leftovers, use them. You can always stir leftover vegetables into soups. You can change a meal completely. And that leads me to number 9, cook from scratch. Cooking from scratch doesn't always mean a roast turkey with homemade mashed potatoes and gravy. Sometimes it means using the foods you have, such as a pack of hamburger, and creating something that your family loves. On my channel, a lot of people have told me that their parents never taught them how to cook. And I know that is something that is a challenge, but it doesn't mean you can't learn. Watch all the videos you can. Learn how to cook from scratch. Even if your family loves pizza, learn how to make homemade pizza. Pretty soon they will find out it is so much more fun. They can choose the toppings they want. They can make individual small ones, have a pizza night, but learn how to cook from scratch. And that leads to number 10, eat at home. Who doesn't love to eat out? I love it probably more than anything until I started looking at how much it added up. When Jim and I were living in the suburbs and I was working long hours, he was working long hours, the last thing we wanted to do was come home and cook dinner. So we started some very bad habits, and it went like this. Thursday was Chinese takeout. Friday was pizza takeout. Saturday, we've worked so hard, let's go out to a nice dinner. And Sunday was always, let's get ice cream. Do you know what happened? It took a huge chunk out of our income, and it had a very negative effect on both of our waistlines. Was it easier to eat out? Well, sure. I didn't have to cook. I didn't have to clean up. The kitchen stayed clean. But if we're looking for ways to stay on a budget, that is the first thing I knock out, is eating out. Now, Jim still loves his pizza, and I was still picking it up on Fridays until he decided it was time to learn to make homemade pizza. And each week we tried, and each week we failed. But you know what? Last week we finally found the combination, and now that has opened the door for having our own pizza every Friday night. This next one is something I learned from my mother-in-law, and it is to dry your herbs. My mother-in-law, Ruth, had a huge herbal garden, and in it she had a variety of things that she used to cook with, and she also had a lot of teas. But in the summer, what she would do is she would cut them, and she would take them, because she worked, she would take them to work with her. Then she spread them out on the dashboard of her car and parked in the sun. And you know what? It dried the herbs. So even if you don't have a dehydrator, you can dry them in the oven, you can dry them outside on a table, or you can put them in a car like Ruth did. Now, the one benefit that Ruth always told me about was her car smelled wonderful. And number 12 was this little thing that I switched up to, probably 4 or 5 years ago, and that was to buy organic milk. And you might say, buy organic milk? Organic milk is expensive. Yes, it is. When the kids left home, we discovered we were wasting an awful lot of milk. In fact, we got into the habit that we'd open the carton, give it a sniff, and decide if we were going to use it. And many times that milk had gone bad. We just couldn't use enough milk. So I started buying organic. And what I found the very first time I looked at that carton, it said the expiration date was in 2 months. How could that even be possible? So I bought it and I put it in the fridge, and you know what? It lasted for 2 months. And so since that day, I always buy organic, and it doesn't matter if it's been open 2 days or 2 weeks. That milk is still good. So money-wise, we save a lot by not wasting any of the milk. Well, thank you for joining us for my coffee time chat today. And if you enjoyed this video, please like, subscribe, and share. And I just want to tell you something. I am new to this channel. I am not new to homesteading. And the amazing thing has happened. I started just a few weeks ago, and at first I only had a couple subscribers, but those numbers are going up, and I am amazed. And thank you so much for your dedication and support. It means a whole lot to us. So remember, if you can't do everything, just do something. Have a great day, guys. Bye-bye.